Let's talk about the multiplication and division of algebraic fractions. But before we do, let's first talk about multiplying and dividing fractions in general. So let's start with something like 3/4 times 2/3. When you're multiplying fractions, remember you just multiply the numerator straight across over the denominator straight across. And that's your solution. You do not need to find a common denominator. Let me repeat that again. You do not need to find a common denominator. Our answer, however, isn't in simplest form. So what we need to do is find the greatest common factor between 6 and 12 and factor that out. And the greatest common factor between the two, hey, I'm over here. The greatest common factor between the two is 6. So what happens is our 6's cancel out, and we're left with our simplest form, which is 1 over 2. All right, let's take a look at something like 4/5 divided by, I don't know, let's go with 1/8. All right, remember dividing by a term is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal, which is why the rules for dividing by a fraction is that we change the second term, flip it over, and then we change the division sign to a multiplication sign. So we have now 4/5 times 8 over 1. Now I can follow the rules as before. 4 times 8 is 32, and 5 times 1 is 5. In this case, there's nothing to simplify because 5 does not go into 32, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this as an improper fraction of 32 over 5. Here are my two answers. Let's go ahead and take a look now at multiplication and division with algebraic fractions. So let's take a look at this first example over here. I have 4p times 3r, so multiplying straight across, that means I have 4 times 3 times p times r, which means I have 12pr over 9 times 2 times p times q, so I have 18pq. Now I'm going to check to see if I need to simplify, which I do because I can see that there are a lot of common terms here. So I have 12 and 18, they both have the greatest common factor between them is 6. PR and PQ both have a P, so I can factor out a 6P from the both. When I factor out a 6P from the numerator, I'm left with a 2R. And if I factor out a 6P from the denominator, I'm left with a 3Q. The 6P's cancel out, and I'm left with 2R over 3Q as my fraction. Now, one thing that you can maybe start to see is that I don't have to multiply everything out before I can simplify. What I'm going to do is cross simplify. So I see that 4 and 8 both have a common factor of 4. So what I'm going to do is simplify this term, change that 4 into a 1, and change this 8 into a 2. Because 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. I've factored out the 4 before I multiply. I can do the same thing with 15 and 10, because they both have a common factor of 5. So I'm going to change this factor out of 5 from 10, and that leaves me with 2. Factor out of 5 from 15, I'm left with 3. I've already divided both of these terms by 5 since that was a common factor. So now when I go ahead and multiply, I'm left with 1ab squared, so ab squared times 2c3d, c to the third, sorry. Then I'm left with 3c squared d times 2ab. Well, what I see again is that my 2's can cancel each other out. And so now what I'm left with is ab squared c to the third d over 3a b c squared d. Now again, I can simplify further. I see that d and d cancel out, b and b cancel out, a and a cancel out. Oh, my bad. I see I had b squared, so just one of those cancel out, and I still have a b. You know what, let me erase that. Let's move backwards a sec. Alright, got a little ahead of myself, a little jumpy. So, multiplying across, we have a b squared c to the third d over 3 a b c squared d. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and look at these values that cancel out again a little more carefully. I see I have 1a, they cancel out. 1d, they cancel out. There's nothing for my 3, so that's definitely going to go in my denominator. Now as I look at the b's, I have b squared, so b times b over b. One of the b's cancel out, leaving me with a b in the numerator. Then I have c to the third over c to the second, which really just means c times c times c over c times c. So we can see that, that these two c's will cancel out, and I'm left with c in the numerator. So my answer is bc over 3. Now what you might be able to do is see that you could have simplified even further in the beginning, but we're not there yet. Baby steps. Alright, let's take a look at this last problem for multiplication. So what I see is I have x squared minus 4y over x squared plus 5xy times 2x plus 10y over 3x minus 6y. So first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is factor. I know x squared minus 4y squared is a difference of squares. So that's x plus 2y. That was an ugly y. X plus 2y times x minus 2y. If you don't remember how to factor a difference of squares, go ahead and look back on the video on factoring difference of squares, factoring special products. And x plus 5y has a common factor of x, and what I'm left with is x plus 5y. That's my first fraction. Now my second fraction, 2x plus 10y, I can factor out a common factor of 2, and I'm left with x plus 5y. And I factor out the denominator. I'm taking a look. I see a common factor of 3, and I'm left with x minus 2y. Now I can go ahead and simplify. I see I have x plus 5y over here, x plus 5y in my denominator. I can cancel those out. I have an x minus 2y here and x minus 2y here. I can cancel those out. Now I can't seem to cancel anything else, so it looks like my answer is going to be 2 times, in parentheses, x plus 2y over 3 times x. So my final answer is 2 times, in parentheses, x plus 2y over 3x. I can't cancel out these x's because, again, this is a joined term, x plus 2y. Now let's take a look at division. So, same rules as before. It might not look like a division symbol, but trust me, it is. It's not an addition symbol. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and make this a multiplication problem, 10a over 7b times 5c over 2a. Now what I see is that 10 divided by 2 gets me 5 over 1. So this becomes a 1. This becomes a 5. 5 divided by 7 doesn't really simplify. There's nothing I can do there. So now I multiply across. 5a times 5c is 25ac. And 7b times a is 7ab. I'm still not done because I see that I could have simplified those a's to begin with. A divided by a will just get me 1. So my final answer is 25c over 7b. 25 and 7 are not divisible by any common term, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next. All right. xy to the third over 24z squared t divided by, again, it's a division sign, x squared y over 8z t to the fourth. Again, if you want to try this on your own, you're more than welcome to do so. First thing to do is to make it a multiplication problem. xy to the third over 24z to the second t times, flipping the second term, 8zt to the fourth over, not 8, we already did that, over x squared y. All right, that's going to get me, oh, hey, look, I can divide 8 by 8 and 24. So I can change 8 24ths to 1/3. 8 goes into 24 3 times. 8 goes into 8 once. And so now as I multiply across, I have x, y to the third, z, t to the fourth. So in alphabetical order here, I have t to the fourth, x, y to the third, z, over, looking over here, t, x squared, y, z squared. All right, now I can see that I'm not done because I can simplify this even further. Because I have 4 t's multiplied together over here being divided by 1 t, I'm left with t to the third in my numerator, and I have x being divided by x squared, so I have 2 x's in my denominator, 1 in my numerator. So there's going to be 1 left in my numerator. Let's just work on that here. That's that. That's changed to a 3. I have y to the third divided by y. So that's going to change this to y to the second, which means my numerator has y to the second. And then z divided by z to the second. Because I divided these out. Let's z over z to the second. I'm just going to be left with z in my denominator. So my final answer is t to the third, y to the second, over xz. All right, sounds like fun? I think so. Here's one for you to try on your own. X squared plus 7x plus 12 over x squared minus 36 divided by x plus 4 over x plus 6. How are you going to do this? First thing I would do is factor. Factor my first algebraic fraction. And see you tomorrow.